We are hyper-connected, yet profoundly alone. We curate digital identities, while our true selves remain hidden. The more we seek validation online, the more elusive authentic connection becomes, leaving us trapped in a cycle of fleeting likes and deeper isolation. What if the platforms we mindlessly scroll through each day are subtly shaping our thoughts and desires? What if algorithms designed to connect us are subtly programming us in ways we don't even realize? And what if understanding these hidden forces could unlock our cognitive autonomy, leading to a more authentic and fulfilling digital existence? Social media platforms, seemingly modern innovations, are in fact powerful stages for ancient archetypes. The alluring mask of the persona, the addictive pull of the shadow, and the confusing maze of the algorithm are all being played out in our daily feeds. The desire to influence minds is as old as humanity itself. From ancient rhetoric to modern propaganda, societies have sought to mold beliefs and behaviors. Consider the carefully crafted speeches of Roman orators, designed to sway public opinion, or the pervasive use of wartime propaganda to rally support for a cause. Carl Jung, exploring the depths of the human psyche, illuminated the powerful archetypes residing within the collective unconscious patterns of behavior and imagery that transcend time and culture. The hero, the mother, the shadow. These figures resonate across millennia, shaping our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. We are now faced with the modern question of how to protect our minds from manipulation through media, and also how we can understand the archetypes within our social media interactions so that we can individuate in this new reality. However, the unprecedented scale and sophistication of social media algorithms present a new challenge, subtly programming our minds in ways we may not even realize. How can we become aware of the subtle ways social media is programming our minds? And how can we use psychological tools and ancient wisdom to reclaim our cognitive autonomy and live more authentic lives online? This video will explore the dark psychology of social media, revealing the hidden forces that shape our online behavior and providing practical strategies for reclaiming our minds and creating a more conscious and fulfilling digital existence. Therefore, the key to navigating this complex landscape lies in understanding the archetypes in play and how we can integrate them into our social media use. We'll begin by exploring the psychological principles behind social media's addictive design, delve into the ways these platforms exploit our deepest desires and fears, and uncover practical strategies for reclaiming our autonomy and cultivating a more authentic online presence. By understanding these dynamics, you'll not only gain valuable insights into the hidden forces shaping your online experience, but also acquire practical tools for creating a more conscious, meaningful, and fulfilling digital life. So, let's begin our exploration into the dark psychology of social media and discover how to reclaim our minds in the digital age. It's natural to feel overwhelmed by the seemingly ubiquitous influence of social media or to feel trapped within the cycle. But the key is to approach it with an understanding of the archetypes at play and how to use this information to find your own path. Social media platforms, indeed, are designed to be addictive, exploiting our deepest desires and fears through a carefully constructed system of rewards and punishments. Social media platforms operate much like Skinner boxes, using psychological principles of operant conditioning to shape user behavior. A Skinner box, named after the behaviorist B.F. Skinner is a device used in psychological research to study animal behavior. The animal, typically a rat or pigeon, learns to associate certain actions with specific outcomes, such as receiving a food pellet when it presses a lever. The like button on social media serves as a form of positive reinforcement, driving users to seek validation and approval from their online peers. Each tap of that heart, each thumbs up, releases a small surge of dopamine, reinforcing the behavior and compelling us to return for more. The allure of social media, however, lies in its ability to tap into our shadow selves, our hidden desires for recognition, power, and belonging. The shadow, in Jungian psychology, represents the darker aspects of human nature that we often repress or deny. These can include selfish desires, aggressive impulses, and feelings of inadequacy. Social media provides an outlet for these desires, often in unhealthy ways. We might crave the attention that comes from posting provocative content or seek to exert influence by engaging in online arguments. Yet, social media also fosters the creation of a carefully constructed persona, an idealized version of ourselves that we present to the world. The persona is the mask we wear in public, often concealing our true selves. On social media, this mask is often meticulously curated, featuring flattering photos, carefully crafted updates, and a carefully selected group of friends and followers. The tension between our shadow and persona selves on social media can lead to feelings of inauthenticity and anxiety. We may feel pressured to maintain a perfect image, even as we struggle with insecurities and self-doubt behind the scenes. Adding to this complexity, social media platforms utilize variable reward schedules, making the experience unpredictable and highly addictive. Variable reward schedules, a concept derived from operant conditioning, involve providing rewards at random intervals, making it difficult to predict when they will occur. This unpredictability increases engagement, as users are constantly checking for the next potential reward. On social media, this manifests as the unpredictable nature of likes, comments, and shares. A post might receive hundreds of likes one day and only a handful the next, creating a sense of anticipation and uncertainty that keeps users coming back for more. Social comparison theory further amplifies these effects, suggesting that we constantly evaluate ourselves by comparing ourselves to others, especially on social media. Social comparison theory posits that we have an innate drive to evaluate our own opinions and abilities, often by comparing ourselves to others. On social media, this tendency can lead to feelings of inadequacy and envy. We see the curated images and videos of others, showcasing their seemingly perfect lives, and we begin to question our own worth and accomplishments. This constant comparison can fuel a cycle of anxiety and self-doubt, as we strive to measure up to unrealistic standards. Moreover, social media algorithms reinforce confirmation bias by creating echo chambers, limiting our exposure to diverse perspectives. Confirmation bias is the tendency to seek out information that confirms our existing beliefs, while avoiding information that contradicts them. Social media algorithms, designed to personalize our experience, often amplify this bias by filtering content based on our past behavior, reinforcing our existing viewpoints and limiting our exposure to alternative perspectives. This creates echo chambers, where we are surrounded by people who share our beliefs, further solidifying our convictions and making us less likely to consider opposing viewpoints. Often, we are unaware of how this truly impacts us and our connection with others, especially when conscious motivations are replaced with unconscious motivations. Consider the case of an influencer, let's call her Jane, who projects an image of perfect happiness and success, but struggles with anxiety and depression behind the scenes. Jane has amassed a large following by posting photos of her lavish lifestyle, showcasing exotic vacations, designer clothes, and a seemingly flawless relationship. However, behind the scenes, Jane struggles with the pressure to maintain this perfect image, the constant comparison to others, and the fear of losing followers. Her persona is a carefully constructed facade, while her shadow self is filled with insecurities and anxieties. According to a study by Dr. Anna Richards at the University of Michigan, excessive social media use is linked to increased rates of anxiety, depression, and loneliness. The study, which surveyed over 5,000 participants, found a significant correlation between time spent on social media and symptoms of mental distress. Participants who used social media for more than 3 hours per day were significantly more likely to report feelings of anxiety, depression, and loneliness compared to those who used social media for less than 30 minutes per day. Expert doctor, like doctor. Tim Wu, author of The Attention Merchants, argue that social media algorithms are ethically problematic because they manipulate users without their no DRGE or consent. Dr. Wu argues that these platforms are designed to capture and monetize our attention, often at the expense of our well-being. He writes, the algorithmic techniques of social media platforms are designed to exploit specific psychological vulnerabilities, such as our desire for social validation and our fear of missing out. A prime example of algorithmic exploitation is the Facebook experiment that manipulated users' emotions. In 2012, Facebook conducted an experiment on nearly 700,000 users, manipulating their news feeds to show either more positive or more negative content. The results of the study, which were published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, revealed that users who were exposed to more negative content were more likely to post negative updates themselves, and vice versa. This experiment sparked widespread outrage and raised serious ethical questions about the power of social media platforms to manipulate users' emotions without their knowledge or consent, showing exactly how algorithms are used to exploit specific psychological vulnerabilities. In essence, social media platforms leverage psychological principles like variable reward schedules, social comparison theory, and confirmation bias to tap into our shadow selves and create a curated persona. Social media is designed to be addictive and manipulative, exploiting our deepest desires and fears to keep us scrolling, liking, and sharing. However, the consequences of this constant manipulation extend beyond individual mental health, contributing to the erosion of individual identity and the rise of tribalism. So, how do these platforms contribute to the breakdown of critical thinking and foster a sense of us versus them mentality? By understanding these dynamics, we can begin to reclaim our cognitive autonomy and create a more conscious and fulfilling digital existence, and understand how social media is not only affecting the individual, but society as a whole. Social media fosters a sense of digital tribalism, where users align themselves with specific groups and ideologies, often at the expense of individual identity. Is this tribalism simply an extension of human nature, or is something more insidious at play within the digital realm? Algorithms promote this tribalism by grouping users based on their expressed interests and perceived beliefs, and reinforcing those connections through targeted content. This creates echo chambers where dissenting voices are silenced and conformity is rewarded. Furthermore, the anonymity afforded by the internet allows individuals to act out their shadow selves, projecting negative qualities onto outgroups and reinforcing in-group solidarity. This digital tribalism, therefore, becomes a fertile ground for division and conflict. VSS us versus them mentality discourages critical thinking and fosters a sense of groupthink, where dissenting opinions are suppressed and conformity is rewarded. The psychological need to belong is a fundamental human drive, and social media exploits this need to create and reinforce tribal affiliations. People find comfort and validation in associating with like-minded individuals, even if it means sacrificing their individual autonomy and critical thinking abilities. But what happens when this need for belonging is manipulated to create division and animosity? Consider the example of political echo chambers on social media, where users are only exposed to news and opinions that confirm their existing beliefs, limiting their ability to engage with diverse perspectives. This constant reinforcement of pre-existing biases can lead to increased polarization and a diminished capacity for empathy and understanding. The social media persona becomes strongly aligned with the tribe, often suppressing individual thought. Consider the case of a user who holds nuanced political views, but feels pressured to conform to the prevailing opinions within their online community. This user may suppress their own thoughts and feelings to avoid being ostracized or attacked, sacrificing their authenticity for the sake of belonging. Another concerning example is the rise of online harassment campaigns, where individuals are targeted and attacked for expressing dissenting opinions or challenging group norms. These campaigns often involve coordinated efforts to silence and intimidate individuals, creating a chilling effect on free speech and critical thinking. This conformity is born out of the desire to belong, the shadow projection of hate, and the algorithm's promotion of like-minded individuals. Echo chambers are digital spaces where users are primarily exposed to information that confirms their existing beliefs, reinforcing biases and limiting exposure to diverse perspectives. These echo chambers act as self-reinforcing feedback loops, solidifying pre-existing beliefs and making it increasingly difficult to engage with alternative viewpoints. Algorithms are largely responsible, creating these echo chambers by filtering content based on user behavior and preferences, reinforcing existing beliefs and limiting exposure to dissenting opinions. Is this simply a matter of convenience, or is it a deliberate attempt to manipulate our perceptions and beliefs? A political echo chamber, for example, may only expose users to news and opinions that align with their political ideology, creating a distorted view of reality and making it difficult to engage in constructive dialogue with those who hold opposing views. The creation of these echo chambers is not a bug, but a feature in the algorithmic structure of social media. Confirmation bias is the tendency to seek out and interpret information that confirms our existing beliefs, while ignoring or dismissing information that contradicts them. This bias is a cognitive shortcut that allows us to quickly process information and make decisions, but it can also lead to distortions in our perception of reality. Social media exacerbates confirmation bias by providing users with a constant stream of information that validates their beliefs, reinforcing their biases and making them less likely to consider alternative perspectives. What they don't tell you is that this is not by accident. This curation of content is intentional to keep you in the loop. For instance, a user who believes in a particular conspiracy theory may only seek out information that supports that theory, while ignoring evidence to the contrary. This can lead to the formation of extreme beliefs and a resistance to evidence-based reasoning, showing the danger of confirmation bias. The use of targeted ads and personalized content feeds based on tracking user data further intensifies the echo chambers, making it harder to escape confirmation bias. Retargeting ads based on previous search history or website visits create a personalized advertising experience that reinforces existing preferences and beliefs. Algorithmic curation of news feeds based on engagement with similar content further limits exposure to diverse perspectives, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of confirmation. Therefore, the very algorithms that promise to connect us with the world are also the ones that isolate us in echo chambers of our own making. Consider the rise of extremist groups on social media, fueled by echo chambers and the spread of misinformation. These groups use social media to recruit new members, spread propaganda, and incite violence, often targeting vulnerable individuals who are seeking a sense of belonging and validation. The role of social media in the spread of hate speech and the organization of hate crimes is another chilling example of online polarization. Anonymity allows users to act out the shadow and spread false information with little consequences, contributing to a climate of fear and distrust. But is this simply the dark side of human nature, or is something more insidious at play? According to a study by Professor Sarah Jones at the University of California, social media use is linked to increased political polarization and decreased civic engagement. The study's findings revealed a significant correlation between time spent on social media and political polarization. For instance, participants who primarily consumed news from social media platforms were more likely to hold extreme political views and express animosity towards those with opposing viewpoints. This study highlights the dangers of relying on social media as a primary source of information, as it can lead to a distorted understanding of reality and a diminished capacity for constructive dialogue. Social media platforms have become breeding grounds for misinformation, with false or misleading information spreading rapidly through online networks. The spread of fake news during elections, designed to influence voters, is a prime example of this phenomenon. These false narratives can shape public opinion and undermine democratic processes, as people believe and share information without verifying its accuracy. So, is social media a tool for empowerment or a weapon of mass deception? Consider how anonymity allows users to act out the shadow and spread false information with little consequences. The 2016 US presidential election and the Brexit referendum stand as stark examples of specific events impacted by social media, where social media played a significant role in shaping public opinion and influencing the outcome. The spread of misinformation, the amplification of extremist voices, and the creation of echo chambers all contributed to a climate of division and distrust, ultimately impacting the results of these pivotal events. The use of targeted ads and personalized content further exacerbated these effects, manipulating voters and reinforcing pre-existing biases. What we are left with is a society more divided than ever. In essence, social media algorithms contribute to the erosion of individual identity and the rise of tribalism by creating echo chambers, reinforcing confirmation bias, and promoting an us versus them mentality. The dangers of online polarization cannot be overstated, as they undermine critical thinking, foster division, and threaten democratic values. However, there are practical strategies we can use to reclaim our cognitive autonomy and cultivate a more authentic online presence. So, how can we navigate the digital landscape with greater awareness and intention? And how can we use psychological tools to resist manipulation and foster a more balanced and fulfilling online existence? It's not about abandoning technology altogether, but rather about using it consciously and intentionally, understanding the forces at play and reclaiming control of our own minds, and about using the knowledge of these patterns to individuate. Is there a way to break free from echo chambers, challenge our biases, and engage with diverse perspectives, reclaiming our cognitive autonomy in the process? We are only scratching the surface on how to use psychology to push back against the programming that affects us all. Reclaiming autonomy begins with becoming more mindful of how we consume social media, recognizing the subtle ways in which algorithms shape our attention and behavior. Social media platforms thrive in what is known as the attention economy, a competitive landscape where every app, website, and notification vies for our limited focus. This relentless competition has led to the development of increasingly sophisticated techniques designed to keep us engaged, often at the expense of our own well-being. These techniques, which include variable reward schedules, personalized content feeds, and endless scrolling, exploit our psychological vulnerabilities and hijack our attention spans. Think of it as a digital arms race, where tech companies are constantly developing new ways to capture and hold our attention, while we struggle to maintain control over our own minds. The tendency to mindlessly scroll through social media feeds, seeking instant gratification and escaping from uncomfortable emotions, is a manifestation of the shadow archetype. Just as the shadow represents the repressed aspects of our personality, our mindless social media consumption reflects our unconscious desires and anxieties. We turn to social media to escape boredom, loneliness, or stress, seeking a quick dopamine hit to alleviate our discomfort. However, this temporary relief comes at a cost. We become trapped in a cycle of seeking validation and distraction, neglecting our real-world needs and desires. This is the shadow's way of leading us astray, luring us into a world of instant gratification and superficial connection. The more time we spend on social media, the more our attention is fragmented and our ability to focus is diminished. What they don't want you to know is that your attention is a valuable commodity, and social media platforms are profiting from it. Fortunately, there are many strategies to create a healthier relationship with social media, including setting time limits, turning off notifications, and curating our feeds. Setting time limits involves using built-in features on smartphones or third-party apps to restrict the amount of time we spend on social media each day. For example, both iOS and Android offer tools that allow you to set daily limits for specific apps, sending you a notification when you've reached your allotted time. Curating your feed involves unfollowing accounts that trigger negative emotions or promote unrealistic expectations, and following accounts that inspire and uplift you. This requires a conscious effort to evaluate the content you're consuming and make deliberate choices about what you want to see. Consider taking regular breaks from social media to disconnect from the digital world and reconnect with ourselves and our surroundings. This is known as a digital detox, a period of time during which you abstain from using electronic devices, including smartphones, tablets, and computers. The benefits of a digital detox are numerous, including reduced stress, improved sleep, increased focus, and a greater sense of self-awareness. During a digital detox, you may find yourself engaging in activities you've been neglecting, such as reading, spending time in nature, or connecting with loved ones. It's an opportunity to break free from the constant stimulation of the digital world and rediscover the simple pleasures of life. So, how can you make a digital detox a success? Planning activities to fill the time is crucial, as boredom can quickly lead to relapse. Informing friends and family about your detox can help you avoid social pressure to stay connected. Resisting the urge to check social media requires willpower, but the rewards are well worth the effort. Remember that disconnecting from the digital world can help you reconnect with yourself, allowing you to cultivate a greater sense of inner peace and contentment. Taking steps towards self-awareness will allow you to create an authentic persona. In a social media-driven society, we need to take mindful action to create an authentic persona. The persona, in Jungian psychology, is the mask we present to the world, the social role we adopt to navigate society. Social media encourages us to construct a curated persona, an idealized version of ourselves that we present to others online. However, this curated persona can become a barrier to authentic self-expression, preventing us from connecting with others on a deeper level. By taking mindful action to reclaim our attention and break free from the algorithm, we can begin to dismantle this false persona and cultivate a more genuine online presence. We must take control of the narratives we want to cultivate about ourselves, while not falling completely into a superficial persona. But how can we be our genuine selves without falling into the trap of narcissism? In an era of misinformation and echo chambers, critical thinking is essential for navigating the digital landscape with awareness and discernment. Critical thinking involves evaluating evidence, identifying biases, and considering alternative perspectives. It requires us to question assumptions, challenge narratives, and seek out diverse sources of information. In a world where information is readily available at our fingertips, it's more important than ever to develop the skills to distinguish fact from fiction and truth from falsehood. But how can we cultivate critical thinking in a digital environment that often prioritizes speed and convenience over accuracy and depth? Critical thinking is not something we are born with, but rather something we cultivate over time. One essential skill is challenging confirmation bias, which involves actively seeking out diverse perspectives and challenging your own beliefs, rather than simply surrounding yourself with information that confirms what you already think. Breaking free from echo chambers requires a conscious effort to follow accounts that hold opposing viewpoints, engage in respectful dialogue with people who disagree with you, and seek out diverse sources of information. This can be uncomfortable, as it forces us to confront our own biases and consider alternative perspectives. However, it's essential for cultivating a more nuanced and informed understanding of the world. Consider the example of a political debate, where participants are more interested in scoring points and reinforcing their own beliefs than in engaging in genuine dialogue and understanding opposing viewpoints. This kind of behavior is a symptom of confirmation bias and a lack of critical thinking. Another essential skill to develop is media literacy, which is the ability to better understand how media messages are constructed and how they can influence our thoughts and emotions. The elements of media literacy include identifying the source of information, evaluating its credibility, and recognizing the techniques used to persuade or manipulate audiences. For example, learning to recognize clickbait headlines, identifying fake news websites, and understanding the use of persuasive language in advertising are all important aspects of media literacy. By developing our media literacy skills, we can become more discerning consumers of information and less susceptible to manipulation. Is this ability to discern authentic and unauthentic information more important than ever? Acknowledging potential bias will allow you to see the shadow elements of opposing arguments and in turn integrate your own. In Jungian psychology, the shadow represents the hidden or repressed aspects of our personality, including our negative traits, emotions, and impulses. By acknowledging our own shadow, we can become more aware of our biases and prejudices, allowing us to engage with opposing viewpoints with greater empathy and understanding. The integration of the shadow is a crucial step in the process of individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming a whole and integrated self. Think of the shadow as a puzzle piece. Can you be whole without acknowledging that piece? While social media can provide a sense of connection, it's crucial to cultivate authentic relationships that are based on genuine care, empathy, and mutual respect. Authentic connection involves being present, vulnerable, and honest with others, sharing our genuine thoughts and feelings without fear of judgment. It requires us to listen actively, to show empathy, and to offer support. This differs greatly from the superficial interactions that often characterize online relationships. The difference between online and offline relationships is that offline relationships emphasize the importance of face-to-face interactions and meaningful conversations. How do you cultivate meaningful relationships? Engage in meaningful conversations, share your genuine thoughts and feelings, and be vulnerable with others to foster authentic connection online. Building trust and intimacy online involves being honest and transparent, listening actively, and showing empathy. Prioritize real-world relationships and activities over online interactions by spending time with friends and family, pursuing hobbies, volunteering, and engaging in community events. Consider the value of a warm embrace from a loved one versus a hot emoji. Social media often presents a curated and idealized version of reality, and that comparing ourselves to others can lead to feelings of inadequacy and envy. This phenomenon is known as the fear of missing out, or FOMO, the feeling that others are having more fun, living better lives, or experiencing better things than you are. Social media fuels FOMO by constantly exposing us to carefully crafted images of happiness, success, and excitement. This can lead to a sense of dissatisfaction with our own lives as we compare ourselves to the idealized versions of reality presented online. What they don't want you to know is that social media often presents a distorted view of reality, one that is carefully curated to elicit envy and desire. It is a highlight reel. Recognize that social media often presents a curated and idealized version of reality, and that comparing ourselves to others can lead to feelings of inadequacy and envy. Challenge the notion that we need to be constantly connected, emphasizing the importance of disconnecting and being present in the moment. Focus on cultivating gratitude for what we have, rather than focusing on what we lack. This focus can lead to overall higher levels of happiness. These concepts all lead to Jung's ideas on individuation, which emphasizes the importance of integrating all aspects of the self, including the shadow, the persona, and the anima animus. By cultivating self-awareness, embracing our individuality, and connecting with others on a deeper level, we can move closer to wholeness and authenticity. Individuation is a lifelong process, a journey of self-discovery and self-acceptance. However, it's a journey that is well worth taking, as it leads to a more fulfilling and meaningful life. Can social media be used as a tool on this journey? In essence, reclaiming our autonomy in the digital age requires mindful consumption, critical thinking, and authentic connection. These strategies are essential for navigating the digital landscape with awareness and intention, and for creating a more balanced and fulfilling online existence. The key is to use social media as a tool rather than allowing it to use us. By understanding the psychological forces at play and taking deliberate action to reclaim our minds, we can harness the power of technology for good. Take the first step towards reclaiming your mind by implementing one or two of these strategies today. Start small, be patient with yourself, and celebrate your progress. Every small step you take towards reclaiming your cognitive autonomy is a victory. Do not let perfect be the enemy of good. By understanding the dark psychology of social media and using psychological tools to reclaim our cognitive autonomy, we can create a more conscious, meaningful, and fulfilling digital life, not only for ourselves, but for society as a whole. We have the power to shape our own online experiences and to create a more positive and authentic digital world. The archetypes can be understood in a way that social media can be used as a tool rather than an adversary. The archetypes can be understood in a way that social media can be used as a tool rather than an adversary. But a darker side exists which amplifies shadow projection. The shadow, as defined by Jung, represents the unconscious aspects of our personality, including repressed desires, fears, and insecurities. The anonymity of the internet facilitates shadow projection, as the lack of face-to-face interaction and the perceived distance from consequences allow users to express their shadow selves more freely. This is further amplified when considering previous points about the persona, in that the persona is often an overcompensation for shadow aspects, leading to a greater imbalance when the shadow emerges. What does this shadow expression look like in practice? Online trolls, keyboard warriors, and those who engage in cyberbullying are often projecting their own insecurities and frustrations onto others. The psychological motivations behind online harassment often include the desire for power, control, and validation, stemming from feelings of inadequacy and worthlessness. Consider the hypothetical case of an online troll who spends hours each day harassing strangers on social media. In their personal life, this troll may feel powerless, invisible, and unfulfilled. By lashing out at others online, they can experience a temporary sense of power and control. This behavior can stem from deep-seated insecurities about their appearance, intelligence, or social status. By projecting these insecurities onto their victims, they can temporarily alleviate their own feelings of inadequacy. The impact of this behavior on their victims can be devastating, leading to anxiety, depression, and even suicidal thoughts. Do these online actions have real-world consequences? The algorithms and design features of social media platforms can exacerbate shadow projection by creating echo chambers and reinforcing negative behaviors. By prioritizing engagement over accuracy, algorithms can amplify content that is emotionally charged and provocative, regardless of its veracity. For example, social media has been used to organize hate groups and incite violence. Consider the events leading up to the January 6th Capitol riot, where social media platforms were used to spread misinformation, conspiracy theories, and calls for violence. These algorithms connected users who shared similar beliefs and biases, creating echo chambers where their views were constantly reinforced and amplified. This created a collective sense of outrage and resentment, leading to a coordinated attack the U.S. Capitol. The algorithms acted as an accelerant, turning online rhetoric into real-world violence. What role do algorithms play in our darkest behaviors? Social media algorithms can contribute to the formation of hate mobs by connecting users who share similar prejudices and biases, creating a collective sense of outrage and aggression. The psychology of mob behavior involves the loss of individual identity, the diffusion of responsibility, and the contagious nature of emotions. When individuals come together in a mob, they often lose their sense of self-awareness and personal accountability. This can lead to them engaging in behaviors they would never consider on their own. In a mob, responsibility is diffused among the group, making it easier for individuals to justify their actions. Emotions can spread rapidly through a mob, creating a collective sense of excitement, anger, or fear. These emotional contagions can further escalate the mob's behavior, leading to violence and destruction. Are online mobs as dangerous as real-world mobs? Consider the case of a social media controversy where a celebrity made a controversial statement, resulting in a firestorm of outrage and criticism. The algorithms amplified the outrage by prioritizing content that was emotionally charged and provocative, regardless of its accuracy or context. This led to a flood of hate speech, personal attacks, and threats against the celebrity, as well as their family and friends. The controversy quickly spiraled out of control, with the celebrity facing intense public scrutiny and condemnation. The algorithms created a feedback loop of outrage, where each new comment, share, and like fueled the flames of the mob. This highlights the power of algorithms to amplify negative emotions and contribute to the formation of hate mobs. How can moral outrage be manufactured? Moral grandstanding refers to the tendency to publicly express moral outrage or indignation in order to gain social status or validation. Social media incentivizes moral grandstanding by rewarding users with likes, comments, and shares for expressing strong opinions, which then encourages users to engage in performative activism. Think of call-out culture, virtue signaling, and the use of social media to shame or shame others. On social media, individuals are incentivized to express strong opinions, regardless of their sincerity or validity. This can lead to a culture of moral one-upmanship, where individuals compete to demonstrate their moral superiority. This phenomenon highlights the performative nature of much online activism, where individuals are more concerned with projecting an image of moral righteousness than with actually making a difference. Does social media encourage moral grandstanding? The constant exposure to negative and hateful content can desensitize users to violence and dehumanization, leading to a decline in empathy and compassion. Social media can be used to groom individuals and lead them down a path of extremism. Consider the case of online radicalization, where individuals are gradually exposed to increasingly extreme content, leading them to adopt extremist beliefs and behaviors. This process often begins with exposure to hate speech and misinformation, which can normalize violence and dehumanization. Over time, individuals may become desensitized to these messages, making them more susceptible to radicalization. Social media platforms can also be used to create echo chambers, where individuals are only exposed to information that confirms their existing beliefs. This can further reinforce extremist views and make it more difficult for individuals to break free from radical ideologies. How does this echo chamber compare to historical forms of propaganda? Throughout history, propaganda has been used to manipulate public opinion and incite hatred and violence. Consider the propaganda used by the Nazi regime, which demonized Jews and other minority groups, creating an environment of fear and hatred. This propaganda was disseminated through various channels, including newspapers, radio, and film, and was highly effective in shaping public opinion. Similarly, social media can be used to spread propaganda and misinformation, reaching a vast audience in a matter of seconds. The algorithms can amplify these messages, creating echo chambers where individuals are only exposed to information that confirms their existing beliefs. This makes it difficult for individuals to think critically and challenge the narratives being presented to them. Like with Nazi Germany, propaganda on social media can have devastating consequences, leading to violence, discrimination, and even genocide. But is it all doom and gloom? While social media can be a breeding ground for shadow projection, it can also be used to foster authentic connection and build meaningful relationships. The persona can be used to express our values and aspirations. By consciously curating our online presence, we can project an image that reflects our true selves and our ideal selves. Consider the countless artists, activists, and educators who are using social media in positive and authentic ways, sharing their work, promoting their causes, and connecting with others in meaningful ways. These individuals are using social media to express their creativity, advocate for social justice, and educate others about important issues. By consciously curating their online presence, they are able to project an image that reflects their values and aspirations, inspiring others to do the same. How do you cultivate a positive persona? Sharing our genuine thoughts and feelings, even when they are imperfect or vulnerable, can create deeper connections with others and foster a sense of community. Building trust and intimacy online involves being honest and transparent, listening actively, and showing empathy. Consider individuals who are sharing their struggles with mental health, their experiences with discrimination, or their personal stories of growth and transformation. These individuals are demonstrating vulnerability and authenticity, creating deeper connections with others who share similar experiences. By being open and honest about their struggles, they are breaking down stigma and fostering a sense of community. Are these connections more meaningful than superficial interactions? Social media can be a powerful tool for raising awareness, organizing movements, and advocating for change. Consider the Me Too movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, and other campaigns that have raised awareness about social issues and inspired action. These movements have used social media to amplify the voices of marginalized groups, organize protests and demonstrations, and advocate for policy changes. Social media has become an essential tool for social justice movements, allowing them to connect with supporters, raise awareness about important issues, and mobilize action. This allows us to move closer to individuation and achieve greater wholeness. But how does this look? We have explored the shadow and persona and their influence in our online activities. By understanding how social media algorithms can amplify both our best and worst aspects, we are now better positioned to reclaim our cognitive autonomy and create a more balanced and fulfilling online experience. Mindful consumption, critical thinking, and authentic connection are of the utmost importance. What they don't want you to know is that you have the power to shape your own online experiences and to contribute to a more positive and authentic digital community. We have the choice. What can you do today to start reclaiming your mind? Unfollow accounts that trigger negative emotions, engage in respectful dialogue with people who disagree with you, and prioritize real-world relationships and activities. In our next video, we'll delve even deeper by exploring the ethics of artificial intelligence. We'll also discuss the psychology of online addiction. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that. As we draw these threads together, it becomes clear that the seductive allure of social media masks a complex web of psychological manipulation. While the issues we've explored are multifaceted and far-reaching, they all point to a central question. How do we reclaim our minds in an age of algorithmic programming? We've journeyed through the looking glass of social media, examining its Skinner box mechanics, its exploitation of the shadow self, and its encouragement of performative persona construction. We've seen how digital tribalism and echo chambers erode individual identity and critical thinking, fostering division and animosity. And most importantly, we've uncovered the ways in which social media platforms exploit fundamental human desires for connection, validation, and meaning to shape our behavior, subtly programming our minds in the process? Are we simply puppets dancing to the tune of algorithms? Recall our initial paradox. How can a technology designed to connect us actually leave us feeling more isolated than ever before? We began by questioning whether algorithmic programming was a real threat. Now, after delving into the psychological mechanisms at play, we can see how these platforms, through carefully designed features and algorithms, insidiously shape our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. From the dopamine rush of a like to the tribalistic fervor of online mobs, we have seen how our minds are being subtly programmed. The journey has illuminated the mechanisms of this programming, transforming our initial unawareness into an informed awareness of the subtle manipulation occurring every time we log on. In an age of unprecedented connectivity, true individuality lies in conscious disconnection. The struggle to reclaim our minds from digital manipulation reflects the timeless human quest for authenticity and self-discovery. We must learn to navigate the digital labyrinth with awareness, lest we become lost in its endless corridors, disconnected from our true selves, trapped in a hall of mirrors reflecting distorted images of who we think we should be. Can we ever truly escape the algorithm? Consider how these insights apply to your own online habits and relationships. Take one small step today to reclaim your attention, whether it's setting a time limit on social media, unfollowing accounts that trigger negative emotions, engaging in a meaningful conversation offline, or spending time in nature, away from the digital noise. By cultivating greater awareness and intention, we can harness the power of social media for good, creating a more connected, compassionate, and authentic digital world, and using these archetypes for individuation rather than division. We can choose to be the architects of our own online experiences, rather than passive recipients of algorithmic programming. How can we build a better future? Thank you for joining me on this exploration.